Look at the grass. See the white frost on the grass, on the ground, so that you know how cold it is out here. And for the record, in case I never told you before, I am allergic to cold. Yes, there is such a thing as a cold allergy. Yes. Check it out on Google, internet. You can find out about it. Some people whose fingers and toes actually turn blue. I'm not talking about when they get frostbitten. I'm just talking about when the temperature begins to drop. So I want to say to you, good morning. I'm your host, Ambassador Tony Melchizedek, on this cold day. But I want to give you an idea that I hope will warm your hearts with love. Philadelphia, I'm calling out to you. I want to bring to remembrance, there may be some of you who remember, on 060708. That is the 6th month, the 7th day, 2008. June 7th, which was a Saturday, the Sabbath, 7th day of the week. There was a march. And it was entitled Love Conquers Violence. Now I tell you, the original title was too long and lengthy to even fit it on the paper, the application for the Fairmount Park Commission. So it had to be shortened, and I prayed and I asked the Lord, and he gave me this brief, to the point title. Y'all have to excuse the sound of that train going by. I'm going to take a pause. Okay, I'm back. As I think about it, maybe I'll just continue, because the look of that train, timbers, wow. That looks like a freight train that early this Sunday morning just might be one of the very lengthy ones. So I don't want my pause to actually come to a stop while it's on pause. I want to share with you a picture. See here. I can't see the bottom. Maybe I can come back some more. Now, let me tell you what's going on in this picture. I'm down at Atlantic City. As it says there, I will make you fishers of men. Take the message to the ends of the earth. Get your feet wet today. Start witnessing again. So, as you see this banner which I'm holding, it is an 8-foot banner, and it says there, Love Conquers Violence. I used to drive with that banner on the side of my van until it got raggedy and it needed to come down. And then I went up with a sign that says, Boycott Violence 30 days. Now, at the bottom here it says, Love Conquers Violence. Go, Philly. Okay, that's enough. My hands are too cold to continue with that any longer. Now, what is it that I'm saying? If you had noticed, right here, 2009. In 2009 is when I went down to Atlantic City, and this particular picture, I had someone to snap it for me on the camera. Well, now, as I said, it was 060708 when we had the first march in Philly. We went to the Fairmount Park section over at Old York Road and around Wingahocken Street. Anyway, this title, Love Conquers Violence, excuse me. What happened on that day? We had a few church groups represented, and we had a few civic groups, I guess you could call them, groups dealing with peace on the streets, Mothers Against Drunk driving, I think, was there. Mothers in Charge. They for sure were there. I remember that one. And one lady, I remember a remarkable testimony, so I'm going to remark about it. Her son had committed murder. She had the hard task of turning her son in. I forget the details of how it was done, but if I was to sum it up in just a few words, she had to turn in her son. I don't know what happened from there. So I'm not going to try to remember a name. I do not know the name anyway. I have it on a recording. I could not get those recordings to come out correctly the way I wanted them to, and to put it on Facebook. Maybe I'll try again. I tried to get them to upload onto YouTube. Problems I had. Problems. It came out in sections, and it was hard for me to get them together. But the point is that I'm bringing to you today is Love Conquers Violence. Now, in Philadelphia, we got several groups that are anti-violence groups. And I'm not going to hold back any punches. I'm come straight to the point with it. There are groups that receive certain amounts of fundings and even, let's say, recognitions or reputation to a degree. In short, it's a competition. Though it's not a competition, it is a avoidance of competition. Are all these groups meeting together under one banner? For example, you have, I'm going to use the name SEPTA, Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, under which were united the Red Arrow Lines, the PTC, Philadelphia Transportation Company, and certain branches of the railway train system, and a suburban. There was another suburban section of buses. Now, the SEPTA, Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, is like a combination of all of these working together under that one authority, and it's all coordinated under that one banner. Now, when it comes down time for the unions to renew their contracts and stuff like that, different companies, they may have their negotiations or even a strike plan at different times. Their contracts run out at different times. But the point I'm getting at is the unity under one major banner. And I'm making an appeal today to Philadelphia. I'm still carrying this as it says. And right now, this is the best that I'm able to do any further for this cause about love conquering violence. Philadelphia, oh, you got the Love Park, Richardson C. Dilworth Plaza, or whatever it's called. No disrespect to the name or the person who passed on. Some folks know it as John F. Kennedy Plaza because it's on Kennedy Boulevard. Anyway, and there's the statue, I guess you could call it, though it's not of a person, but it is just of the word love, L-O-V-E. Now, I'm saying to you, I had a plan I tried to share a few times. There was a group, I don't know if they're still in existence, if they're just still holding a website, if they're doing any functioning. But I had received a letter in the name of Pastor Joyner, who had long since retired from that church. And it was a reminder from a group called interdenominational crusade for peace. Interdenominational crusade for peace, ICP. Well, and they were having a meeting, so I went to this meeting. And they talked about different things, plans. You know how, those of you who know how the inner workings of some of these groups go, you know, different things and suggestions that come up. And so it was meeting at a church, maybe once a month or once every 2 months. Pastors, associate pastors, come together, bring your ideas, etc., blah, 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 blah. Look how many years ago that was. That's why I'm saying it like this. Blah, 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 yada, 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 and all that other silliness. Time that some people would label as wasted because accomplishment did not take place. If it did, why is it that I'm not hearing about it after so long a time? Anyway, I tried to get a place on the agenda, and the man that was in charge for that meeting, bishop somebody or pastor somebody, title, what difference is it going to make really in the long run? At the foot of the cross, he better be there with me at Jesus' feet, as is said in so many sermons. But he asked me the question, are you the pastor? I told him I was one of the local elders in the congregation. And that's about as far as it went, as me getting much say-so. When an opportunity came at that meeting or at a later meeting, I stood up and I held that 8-foot banner, stretched it out, and tried to give the idea. And here's a plan that I had. Did I really have a chance to? Oh, let me say this before I go into it. That same group, International Crusade for Peace, I sent in, and if you look on my Facebook page, there may still be some photos of the letters, of the advertisement, or whatever you want to call it, the flyer that I had adjusted and made using their name. And I said, as a suggestion, I put citywide crusade for peace, because that was the idea. You know, in some situations, we don't really like to use the word stole, like somebody stole an idea. But if you take an idea and you kill it by neglect, letting it die, and not carrying it through, then it was a pointless steal. It's like stealing bases in baseball. You steal bases, but you never get to come in. Okay, your team is out. 3 outs before you can get to home base. So now, what was the plan I had? Citywide. Take it. Somebody take it and put it to work. Using this concept. When we look at the concept in the Bible about tithes and offerings, it was across the board a 10%, first fruits 10% plan. It was 10% for everybody, no matter how rich or how poor. 10%, the first 10%. So now, I want to give the opportunity for so many congregations and houses of worship and civic meeting places. Name slips, the right words, language slips in my mind at the moment. I guess my brain is freezing out here. Anyway, you forgive me for that. But civic groups, let's meet under this banner, Love Conquers Violence. We want the city to be involved also, because this advertisement can go worldwide. Look, how long has it been since we've been making advertisements for tourism for Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, United States of America, planet Earth? How long has it been since we've really been putting it out there? Our tourism. We used to have tourism. Do we still call it tourism? Well, then, Liberty Bell, huh? Liberty. We got too much killing and violence going on here. Now it's time for a unity of all these splinter groups. Not that they splintered off from another group, but they're splinter groups because they're splinters of the main idea. The main idea is love. Love has to conquer the violence. When we read in the book of Revelation, we find that at the end, love conquers violence, no matter what you say. So, Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. We used to have the love. What would you call that, folks? Class, I want you to look that up. Give me the right word. I can't think of it right now because I'm cold. Anyway, somebody else tried to just make a poetic rhyme and said, no, it's because you're old. Anyway, class, listen. We got to keep our chin up. Keep looking up. Earth, Wind, and Fire said, keep your head to the sky. We can get answers for how to solve this situation. Now, in the meantime, we can alleviate some of this suffering. When we come together, let us boycott violence for 30 days. Let's make a plan. For 30 days, and I use this as a springboard of an idea from one or two stories in the book of, in the Bible. The story of Nineveh, Jonah. That city had a warning. They fasted and prayed for 30 days, 3 days and nights. I can't remember. But the word was that God's going to destroy this place in 40 days. Don't you know this place is going to be destroyed one day? But in the meantime, until then, we can make it a little better place to live. We can diminish, reduce, decrease some of this killing and violence. Maybe even it can go away completely for a time. Why not give it a try? Some people would say nothing beats a try but a failure. I don't know does that make any kind of sense? I'm not even going to try to ponder it right now, but the earthly temptation of my mind was to say it because I heard it before. All cliches don't make sense. Though they may sound cute, they're not all true. Anyway, love conquers violence. Let us come together. Just picture this. Abraham bargained, I'm using that word, okay? Abraham pleaded with God about sparing the cities in the plains of Sodom and Gomorrah. He thought about his nephew Lot living there. God had said, I'm going to destroy that place. And so he bargained, shall we say, pleaded back and forth from, if there be 50 men, righteous men, would you spare the city? From 50 to 40, no, 50, 45, then 40, 30, 20, 10. If you can find 10 righteous men in that one city. Now I'm saying if we can find 10, just 10 groups, 10 churches, 10 civic groups that are humanitarian in their base of understanding and their commitment, their charge. I can't think of the right word right now. Anyway, their goal, you know the name, their mission statement, okay? 10 groups. If we could just get 10 groups that would be willing for 3 days. Now just imagine, this is at a minimum. 3 days, each one, to represent, so that for a 30-day period, we have Love Conquers Violence as a theme where we deal with all kinds of good remedies and strategies, psychological, sociological, even financial, different kinds of plans. Excuse me, folks, you know I'm rubbing my hands. It's cold out here. So we have to get a crisis intervention, all these kinds of things. You know, we can sit down at the table and come up with a plan so that when the summertime comes, before the summertime comes, let's say during the month of May, just picture this. During the month of May, or maybe mid-April to mid-May, before the heat really hits Philadelphia, if we have this theme going around citywide now, remember, oh yeah, did I highlight that that group, interdenominational? Then they changed their name to Citywide Crusade for Peace. Anyway, that's the emphasis. We can do this thing citywide. Philadelphia, city of Philadelphia, financially, we're calling on you, and television groups, stations, etc., networks, whatever you want to call yourselves, whatever you might be. We're looking for some PA, public affairs announcements. I forget right now the initials, the abbreviations, public address, whatever you call it. We need to speak out publicly. We need some free advertisement once this plan is put together. The plan is that, and just like we have voting districts so that people can walk to their voting house where they vote in their neighborhood. We want every neighborhood to be saturated in Philadelphia. Just picture this. Every church group, every mosque group, every house of Buddhism or whatever religion that is claiming to have love at a base, at a foundation, as their foundation. Just picture it, if we're pushing the idea of love conquers violence. Now we're having to devote at least a minimum of 3 days. Now, it's not just your favorite 3 days. We're going to mix it up and select. So different groups. Now, if you have a larger building, edifice, sanctuary, whatever your house of worship or civic group, meeting place, whatever it might be called, we do expect that you might be able to handle more according to the size of your building. So what is it that we're going to have? Right off, the number one thing that keeps coming to my mind is the term crisis intervention. How to avoid arguments. You know how to avoid arguments? Look, I'm going to give you one example just to start with. I learned some years ago, a certain brother, it seemed like we always seemed to clash at a certain point in discussions. I discovered that some people, the subject may be a general subject, and they change the focus to a specific. Now, and vice versa. If the subject is a specific, and to change it to a general, well, now you're opening the door for much kinds of conflict. So in that case, the remedy is, I use these words from, I remember this movie, Star Wars, the first one, and the guy was flying his ship to get into the mothership. And I'm saying, using this example, I want you guys to come together under the mothership of love conquers violence. So he's flying his ship. He didn't really want to go in, but he has to go into the heart of this mothership for the destruction of it, to blow up. And he's going to be blown up with the ship on the mission. It's sort of a kamikaze or suicidal thing. Forgive me if I'm using that the wrong word in the wrong way. I don't know everything. But his boss or his supervisor, whoever was talking to him, just had this one thing that he just kept saying: stay on target, stay on target. And I'm telling you, when it comes to discussions, I learned that one of the biggest problems so often turns out to be not staying on target, because we can sidetrack, go on. I remember one class I reviewed. It said homiletics. There's such a thing they call a sightseeing sermon, where you try and comment on everything as you go by. So, do you get anything accomplished? Or are you just spinning wheels? So, what we need to get something accomplished here. Staying on target in a discussion to finalize that thing, instead of just jumping from one thing to the next and accomplishing nothing. So stay on target. Now, I'm just citing that as one example of argument, contention, avoidance. I have found it to be so. Now, imagine these people that have gone to school and studying psychology, sociology, abnormal psychology and behaviors, etc. Imagine them coming together throughout the city at different places in different neighborhoods, and where they deal with and talk about crisis intervention. That's the only thing I can think of right now, etc. And those kinds of things are relationship building, improvements, okay? Even marriage and family counseling to be made available. In brief, no, we're not talking about some 12-year psychoanalytic endurance